Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to take a minute here to go over and kind of show you how to utilize the entity snaps. Entity snaps are located on a toolbar up here, okay, across the top of my screen. And if you do not find these on your setup for DWGEditor at this time, take your cursor and place it above the gray area of the screen. Click the right mouse button and you can turn them on. You can also turn on and off many of the toolbars right here. In my case, entity snaps are already turned on, so I'm going to go ahead and just click out. And at this point now I'm going to go in and I'm going to just place a couple pieces of geometry on the screen so that I can illustrate to you how to use a couple of these entity snaps. Okay, at this point I'm going to create a line, and if you notice across the Entity Snaps toolbar, right now I have a couple of these buttons that are already pressed in. What I like to do to make sure that I only have pressed in what I want to use, I always go and I clear the Entity Snaps before I get started. Then I will turn on the Endpoint Snap. And now I'm able to come over here, and as I touch this line, it automatically finds the nearest endpoint of that line. Same thing if I scroll down here, it'll find the other endpoint of the line. Same thing over here. So I'll go ahead and if I want to pick that endpoint, you notice the yellow square that's indicated here. That means it's finding an endpoint. So I will left click the mouse. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to snap to this other endpoint with the left mouse button as well. Now to get out of the line command, I'm simply going to right click my mouse button. If I want to use or find midpoints, I could turn on midpoints and turn off the endpoint snap. Now I'll go in to create a line. And when I pick an appropriate line, it will find the midpoint for me. And the same thing here, and the same thing with this line, and again over here. And then I'll right click to exit out of the command. Now I'm going to clear my entity snaps, and I'm going to show you how to use the center snap. In this case, I'll draw a line again, and I'm going to snap with my left mouse button and basically draw a line from the center of the one circle to the center of the other circle. Now I'm going to create another couple circles here real quick. And I want to show you another command here called the tangent snap. With the tangent snap, I'm able to go to a line, and I'm able to basically, as I come along and I touch a circle, it basically defers a tangent point. So I'm going to pick the top half of the circle, I'm going to come along, I'm going to pick the other circle. And what that did is it drew a line that is tangent from the one circle to the other circle. Now in this case, I'm going to go along and draw another line, tangent to the other tangent of the circle. Okay, so that's how the tangent snap works. Now I skipped over one, so I'm going to clear my entity snaps and I'm going to show you how to use the perpendicular snap. In this case, I'm going to draw a line, and if I start a line here and I want it to be perpendicular to this line, when I touch that line, it automatically finds the perpendicular location. When I left click and get out of the command, I now have a 90-degree angle formed between these two lines. They're perpendicular to each other. I'll go in, I'll draw a line, come up, find the perpendicular, and there it is. So it works just like that. I'm going to come along now, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick these two items and delete them. And I'm going to clear my entity snaps and turn on the quadrant snap. Now I'm going to start a line, and what I do now is when I touch the edge of a circle, it automatically finds the nearest quadrant point. And the quadrant point basically just kind of imagine that we're going to place our 0, 0 location in the center and draw an X and a Y axis. The quadrant point is where the X axis or the Y axis intersects the circle. So in this case, I'm going to go quadrant point to quadrant point to quadrant point, and so on and so forth here. Okay? So that's how the quadrant point snap works. There's another one that I find useful here, so I'll clear the entity snaps and I'm going to go to the intersection snap. And here I'll go back to line, and as I go around it finds any points on the screen where there is an intersection. And I can go ahead and snap to them. Okay, intersection to intersection. So the entity snaps are a very useful tool. The thing that I also want to indicate or show you is I can clear the entity snaps, and I can use more than one entity snap, or I can turn on more than one entity snap at a time. I could turn on the line and maybe the center snap. Endpoint and center. So when I go to line now, I'm going to find endpoints, but if I touch the edge of a circle, I'm going to find also the centers. The thing to point out about the way the center snap works, though, is if I go to the center of the circle, it doesn't find anything. I have to be touching the edge of the circle to find the center snap. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and left mouse click to pick that center and come over here and snap to the end point. And then I'll go to the center and back to the center. So I hope this helps. The big deal here is to remember always to clear your entity snaps and then turn on the appropriate ones that you want to use. With that said, I guess that kind of covers the entity snaps. The thing that I would say is to be careful never to turn on the nearest snap. I will show you what it does and then ask you to make sure you don't ever use it. If I turn on the nearest snap and I go to the line command, what this does now is it will find the nearest node of any geometry in the file. So the concern here is if I had the nearest and the endpoint snap turned on and I went to line, I could accidentally think I'm trying to get an endpoint but accidentally get nearest. And then as you can see, that geometry is not at the end of the line. So I want to be very careful, and the best way to avoid that is to simply make sure that I don't ever use the nearest snap. I also don't use the intersection point snap or set insertion point snap, set point snap, or the apparent intersection snap. I just personally have not found them to be useful. You're more than welcome to play with those on your own. I just have never found them to be of much use. I guess that pretty much concludes what I wanted to talk to you about today with the entity snaps. So with that said, I guess I will talk to you in the next video.